Buying a private jet can cost millions, but the purchase price may be the cheapest part of owning one. Because once that jet is yours, the clock starts ticking, and thousands of dollars can disappear every hour. And unlike a normal car, your jet still costs money even when it sits completely still. So who actually benefits from owning one? And when does a private jet finally make financial sense?
Today, we're breaking down the real economics of private jet ownership. From the first dollar to the final.
Private jets aren't one size fits all. Depending on the aircraft, you could spend a few million or many times that. But here's the first mistake buyers make. They focus on the purchase price instead of the lifetime cost. The jet you see is only the tip of the iceberg. Most ownership expenses are hiding underneath. Every flight creates expenses, but even sitting on the ground can cost you money every single day. And that leads to the real question. Is owning the jet actually cheaper than simply chartering one? Imagine you need a private jet 10 times a year. You have two choices: charter someone else's aircraft or own one. With chartering, you generally pay for the flights you actually take, without carrying the entire aircraft's fixed costs.
With ownership, the bills keep coming, whether you're flying today, tomorrow, or not at all.
But here's where the math gets interesting. The more you fly, the more ownership can begin to change the equation. That's because fixed costs get spread across more flights, potentially making each additional trip more economical for heavy. Now let's talk about the expense that starts growing every time those engines fire up: fuel. Jet engines can burn enormous amounts of fuel, especially on longer flights, and fuel prices can change over time. So a cross-country trip isn't just about distance. Every extra mile can add another layer to the operating bill. And while passengers see leather seats and luxury, underneath them, thousands of dollars can be moving through the engines. But fuel is only one piece of the puzzle. Next comes the crew, and that's where ownership gets even more expensive. A private jet doesn't fly itself. Professional pilots are one of the major ongoing costs every owner has to consider. And experienced crews need salaries, benefits, training, certifications, and regular simulator time to stay qualified. Training isn't a one-time expense either. Aviation requires crews to maintain skills and meet strict operating standards. And the pilots aren't the only people involved. A private aircraft can require an entire support operation behind the scenes. And once the crew is paid, another unavoidable bill remains: keeping millions of dollars of machinery safely in the air. Then comes maintenance, because a private jet isn't just a luxury asset. It's a highly complex flying machine. Engines, electronics, landing gear, hydraulics, and countless other systems require inspections and scheduled maintenance. And some maintenance is scheduled months ahead, while unexpected repairs can arrive without warning. That means one mechanical problem can turn a normal operating budget into a surprisingly expensive repair bill. And now the picture is getting clearer. Owning the aircraft means paying for an entire ecosystem around it. First, your multi-million-dollar aircraft needs somewhere safe to sleep. And that space isn't usually cheap. Hangar space can come with security, ground support, airport fees, and other recurring expenses. Then there's insurance, because protecting an expensive aircraft is a serious financial responsibility. Every departure can also involve airport, handling, parking, and other operational charges depending on where you fly. Put them together, and the jet starts looking less like a purchase and more like a small business you have to operate. There's another cost owners often forget. The jet itself can lose value as it gets older and more used. That doesn't mean every aircraft loses value at the same rate. Age, condition, model, demand, and market timing all matter. A well-maintained aircraft can remain attractive to buyers, while neglected maintenance can make resale much harder. So the real cost isn't simply what you paid, it's what you spent, minus what the aircraft is eventually worth. And once you calculate that number, the economics of owning a private jet suddenly look very different.
For some owners, the jet isn't just about luxury. It's about saving time across multiple business locations.
Time can become incredibly valuable when one executive needs to visit several cities in a single day. Instead of spending hours navigating commercial schedules, an owner may gain flexibility to build a much tighter travel schedule. But saving time doesn't automatically make a jet profitable. The financial value depends on how that saved time is actually used. And that's the key distinction. A jet can be a luxury expense, or it can support a business strategy, but only under the right circumstances. The decision usually starts with one number. How many hours are you actually going to fly each year? If you fly only occasionally, chartering can avoid many fixed ownership costs that don't disappear between trips. But when flight hours become very high, those repeated charter expenses can become large enough to change the calculation. The crossover point isn't universal. Aircraft type, routes, utilization, and ownership structure can completely change the math. So there is no magic number of flights that makes ownership automatically better. The economics have to be calculated for each situation. There's another option between chartering and buying outright: sharing access to an aircraft through fractional ownership. Instead of paying for the entire aircraft, multiple owners can share the capital commitment and certain ongoing expenses. The trade-off is flexibility. Your access depends on the program, scheduling rules, and how the shared aircraft is managed. For some frequent travelers, shared ownership can reduce the burden of owning an entire aircraft while keeping private aviation convenient. So private aviation isn't really one choice. It's a spectrum of cost, control, convenience, and financial commitment. Some owners don't want their expensive aircraft sitting empty, so they explore ways to put unused flight time to work. In certain arrangements, an aircraft may generate revenue through charter operations when it isn't being used by the owner. But turning a private aircraft into a revenue-producing asset requires management, compliance, scheduling, and additional and gross charter revenue isn't the same as profit. The aircraft still has substantial costs every time it operates. So the smart question isn't how much the jet can earn, but how much value remains after every cost is counted.
Then comes another layer many buyers overlook: taxes, accounting, and how the aircraft is actually structured.
The financial treatment can depend heavily on where you operate, how the aircraft is used, and who legally owns it.
That's why detailed records matter, especially when business travel and personal travel are both involved. It keeps your data accurate.
Aviation accountants can help owners understand the numbers, but the rules can be complex and highly dependent on individual circumstances. And when all these pieces are combined, you finally see what owning a private jet can truly cost. The aircraft itself matters enormously. A smaller jet and a long-range luxury jet can have completely different economics. Your travel pattern matters too. Short regional flights create a very different cost structure, from long international journeys. This is why utilization matters so much. An expensive aircraft sitting idle can be financially painful. When the same fixed expenses are spread across more flight hours, the effective cost per hour can fall. That's the hidden lesson. With private jets, the economics depend less on owning the asset and more on how intelligently you use it. A jet can be extremely useful in the air, but idle time can quietly increase its effective cost. Another hidden issue is repositioning, when an aircraft must move without carrying its owner or paying passengers. Those empty legs still consume fuel, crew time, and maintenance resources, even though they generate little direct revenue. Smart scheduling can reduce wasted movement, making aircraft utilization more efficient and potentially improving the overall economics. In private aviation, efficiency isn't just about flying more. It's about making every flight serve. Eventually, many owners face another question. When you want out, how easy is it to sell the aircraft? Unlike a popular car, a private jet has a much smaller pool of potential buyers and specialized market conditions. Buyers may closely examine flight hours, maintenance history, condition, configuration, and the aircraft's overall. So resale value isn't guaranteed. Market conditions can influence how quickly you sell and what buyers are willing to pay. And that's why smart owners think about the resale market before they ever sign the purchase agreement. Buying a jet isn't automatically smarter. For many travelers, chartering can still be the financially cleaner choice. Chartering can eliminate many ownership responsibilities, especially when your travel schedule changes from month to month. If your flying needs are unpredictable, flexibility can be worth more than owning an expensive aircraft outright. The right choice depends on your flight hours, business needs, flexibility, capital, and willingness to manage complexity. In other words, you're not simply buying transportation. You're choosing an entire financial model for travel. There's one more cost people often ignore. The money tied up in the aircraft could have been invested elsewhere. That money might otherwise support a business, investment portfolio, real estate, or another opportunity with potential returns. This is called opportunity cost, the value of what you give up by choosing one financial option. For wealthy buyers, that comparison can matter just as much as fuel, maintenance, or crew expenses. Once you include opportunity cost, the real price of private aviation becomes much bigger than the aircraft's sticker price. For some owners, the biggest benefit isn't luxury at all. It's the value of time saved. If a private aircraft lets an executive work efficiently while traveling, those saved hours could have meaningful business value. Direct routing, flexible schedules, and fewer airport delays can sometimes turn travel time into productive business time. But that benefit only matters when the saved time actually creates value through decisions, deals, meetings, or productivity. That's the real test. Does the economic value of your time justify the enormous cost of controlling your own aircraft? Private jets also carry market risk, because operating costs, resale prices, and demand can change over time. Fuel prices can rise, maintenance can become more expensive, and aircraft values can move with market conditions. That means an owner can't assume today's economics will look exactly the same several years from now. Smart buyers, therefore, look beyond status and ask whether the aircraft fits their long-term financial situation. And this is where private jet ownership stops being a luxury question and becomes a financial decision. For the right owner, a private jet can become part of a broader business strategy, not simply personal transportation. Imagine managing businesses across several locations, where speed, privacy, and scheduling flexibility can directly support operation. Privacy can also matter when executives need focused conversations, without the distractions of crowded airports and commercial cabins. But these advantages only create financial value when the aircraft genuinely improves the owner's business or lifestyle efficiency. That's why wealthy owners don't just ask, "Can I afford the jet?" They ask, "What value will it create?" The answer starts with usage. The more consistently you fly, the more carefully ownership deserves serious financial analysis. Frequent travelers can spread fixed ownership costs across more flight hours, potentially improving the economics of each trip. Occasional travelers may prefer chartering, while frequent users might consider fractional access or full ownership. The smartest decision compares total costs with time saved, flexibility gained, financial risk, and alternative uses of capital. Once you see the complete picture, owning a jet becomes less about status and more about choosing the right economics. Now let's put everything together and look at the complete financial picture behind owning a private jet. The purchase price is only the beginning. Ownership requires a continuing stream of capital to keep the aircraft operating. The biggest difference between these owners isn't their wealth, it's how efficiently they use the aircraft they paid for. A jet makes financial sense only when its costs are justified by the value, convenience, and usage it creates. And that's the real economics of private aviation. Don't measure the jet by its price, measure it by its value. So what is a private jet really? For one person, it's luxury. For another, it can be a business tool. The exact same aircraft can have completely different financial value depending on who owns it and how it's used. Before buying, the smartest question isn't whether you can afford it. It's whether owning it is actually worth the capital. If the value you gain consistently outweighs the full economic cost, ownership can become a rational financial decision. But if the aircraft sits idle while costs keep rising, that same luxury can quickly become an expensive The biggest lesson is simple. Never judge a private jet by its purchase price alone. Real ownership cost includes the money you spend, the value you lose, and the opportunities you sacrifice. Two people can own identical jets, yet one gets tremendous value, while the other carries unnecessary financial weight.
Before buying, calculate your usage, total costs, expected benefits, and what your capital could accomplish elsewhere.
Because true financial freedom isn't about owning the most expensive asset. It's about making expensive assets work intelligently. The smartest owners aren't necessarily the richest people. They're the ones who understand exactly what they're paying for. They look beyond the shiny aircraft and calculate every expense, every trade-off, and every potential source of value. And sometimes, the smartest private aviation decision isn't buying a jet at all. It may be choosing another option. Ultimately, private jet ownership is a long-term financial decision, not simply a one-time luxury purchase. And once you understand that equation, the mystery behind private jet ownership becomes much easier to understand. From purchase to resale, every stage matters when calculating what private aviation truly costs. The smartest buyer asks 5 things: how often, how much, why, what value, and what all. Because wealth isn't simply having enough money to buy something expensive. It's knowing whether that purchase makes economic sense. A private jet can buy convenience, privacy, and time. But none of those benefits come without it. Because when it comes to luxury, the smartest move isn't looking rich. It's understanding exactly where your money goes.